before even we built the product, we built the tech first, went to market, tried doing some pilots, right? We went to businesses, we were like, hey, give me a problem statement, let me see if my engine can run it. And we ran some insights, gave them reports, and we validated the technology first. And once we validated this, it was pretty clear in the market that this was something interesting. This is something that's groundbreaking, because I'm fundamentally changing the way companies look for insights. I'm fundamentally changing the way you approach research as a whole. And the research industry has not been disrupted, mind you, in the last 50 years. So people start taking note of it. A business can do one of four things: easier, better, faster, cheaper. You can either be easier, that means you're making it more accessible, you're improving the ease or convenience. Better, you're adding more quality, adding more value in terms of better quality, better results, better dimensions. Faster, you're saving time, or cheaper, you're saving cost. These are the four things a business can, a startup can innovate on or disrupt someone on.
A Sankarshan Joshi trip.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Sankarshan Joshi trip. In this episode, we have a very special guest who's a very dear friend of mine. We have Abhilash Madabushi in the house. Welcome to the podcast again.
Thanks. Hi everyone. I think I was one of your most watched videos, most viewed videos in the past.
Yes.
Hopefully we can beat that today. But yeah, great coming back again. Long time, I think 2 years.
Yes.
Huge difference in what we've done. Same paths, but crazy differences. It was fun catching up today, right? After so long, we spent probably half an hour just getting to know each other again and just revisiting some of the stuff we've done together.
Time just flies, right? I didn't realize that it's been 2 years that this was started. So you started Consuma when you were 19, right? So that was when you started this company, and over the period of time from when you were 19 to whatever you accomplished so far, with your journey, can you just tell people like what Consuma is about and how this process has been, so far? Because from last time when you were here to now, we've gained a little bit more audience, right? So it would be great even if they get to know who you are from you.
Right, so hi everyone, again, quick intro. I'm Abihilash. I'm the founder of Consuma. Consuma is an AI startup. We had started this back in 2021, where the initial concept started. An opportunity we saw is how difficult market research is, right? In general, you take surveys, you take focus groups, go into agencies. It takes an extreme amount of time for you guys to get the results you want. Just to validate simple ideas also, it takes a long amount of time. And it's funny how I stumbled across it, right? How I stumbled across this entire problem was I wanted to build something. And the number one step in building something is always market research. So I was putting out forms. I was sending out these surveys to all my college friends. I was sending out to hostelites and getting people to fill out forms just to validate ideas in my mind. And what I realized is that this is a painful process.
Yeah.
Right. And if it was painful for me, it's super bounded painful for businesses out there. So spent a lot of time in this space and realized that market research is something that needs to be cracked, and the big players in this market have cracked it to a certain extent with business model economics, right? The unit economics of sending out a survey and getting results is completely optimized today. But the place where we had to add a new dimension to this space if you want to disrupt it. So that's where AI comes in, right? With the revolution in AI and this is in 2021, right? This is before your LLMs, before your ChatGPT became famous. It's when we were tracking this, when we were trying to crack this, was before the entire hype started in AI. And we added a new dimension to the market research space. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're in the market research space. We find insights for businesses. We help them in their research goals. We help them understand the customer better, understand market better, understand how to reach them, how to communicate. So a lot of these insights, make or break businesses, right? As a business owner, you need to make decisions based on data, and we enable that process at instant real-time scale.
Right. Every time I'm talking to you, I remind myself that he's just 21 years old. Because when you get talking, right, there's so much of profundity that comes. I'm like, I just get lost in the information that you're providing, but I lose track that you're this young. And when I don't know if a lot of people know that I was a part of Consuma at the initial phase of the design, right? So, and from then to what the product is right now, and we didn't even talk to each other in this gap, right? We were just like checking, and I was like, hey, how are you? How are you doing? Blah. But we didn't get to the point where we were talking about Consuma. That never happened, right? So today, before coming to the studio, when we were just talking about what you've been up to with Consumer, it started out uh, in an incubation where you're just trying to bring resources. You're like, I want this design, I want this coding, and parallelly you're just trying to reach out to the potential customers, right? Like you were in a phase like you were talking to them. But I was there when all of this was happening. But then I got ahead with my life, and then you got ahead with yours. But today, when you are saying that, now you have Achi Masala as your client, as your customer, and what was the other one? The
Curl on.
I mean, these are very like huge players in their space, right? And I was just astonished with the progress that you and your company has achieved in this span. And 2 years is in the startup ecosystem. This is a less time, right? Like like 2 years people take to just bring their product out to the market. Like it's that time is a very small amount of time. So in this process, I just wanted to understand what was this journey like. Like when you started, you had this product, and then future, we are here 2 years from now, and now you have like the company is making money, you have revenue, and you have full-time employees now, and you had like part-time interns, right, to this stage, and this happened in 2 years. So what was this journey like?
So first off, I want to say that 2 years, it's both short and long, depending on which perspective you look at it.
When I was saying that statement, parallelly I was thinking of both the scenarios.
Because like, if you ask me, if I had to do everything again, I would want to get to the stage in less than a year. 2 years seems too stretched out, but again, that's the benefit of experience, right? That's just, it's backward looking into anything you want with data. But okay, journey, right? One thing which I think all of you might know already, and for those who don't, is I have both a flaw and a good thing. I don't know which one is better here, but I'm extremely impatient when it comes to something I want. So at Consumer, I want growth, I want to get somewhere. I am extremely impatient. And you've seen this, right? Being our first designer, you know the pressure I put in terms of getting stuff done ASAP. And it's not only in terms of impatience that I'm impatient with everything. Impatience is more in terms of not doing anything, right? I'm impatient if I'm not able to do something towards the goal I want to get to. So I'm okay as long as, like, let's say we're working together on a design. I'm okay with how much long it takes, as long as we're giving it our 100% effort or 110% effort the entire time. But what I can't be patient about is not doing anything about something, right? So if I want to move, if I want to get traction, I'm just sitting on my ass and not doing any work. That is something which I can't deal with. So this is, I think, an important context to, the story that I tell you, right, in terms of how we grew. So I think the initial days concept was clear. We wanted to build this, but how we approach it was various approaches. So anytime, right, in the startup world, in any sort of world which you're trying to build a business, there's always a problem you're trying to crack, right? No matter what you're trying to build, where you are. You might be a shop owner, you might be building GPT-4, GPT-5, but at the end of the day, you're solving some sort of a problem. Now, the approaches to solving a problem are a million. Right? It's infinite. It's up to creativity, up to you to figure out how to approach a problem. And with experience, I guess you figure out what is the most optimized, best way to approach a problem with a solution that can scale in the market. So that is something which obviously we didn't have the luxury of. It's about trying until we get to a stage that we can say that, hey, it's working. So initial days, first approach we did for the market research problem. We went to market with it. We built it in, again, record time, right? 3 to 4 months is the max I can spend on building a product, because if you spend more than that getting 0 to 1, you're spending too much time. You're not actually testing the product itself. You're not getting any validation. You're just building. So that was the entire process. Like I don't want the theoretical, the mentally validating concepts. I want to physically validate it. So we built something, went to the market, and we got very stone cold feedback. Right? People told me to my face that, hey, it's amazing, interesting, exciting, but I wouldn't buy it because it's too obvious. The data you're giving me is too obvious. That was the initial inputs in the initial method we went down. Then we had a moment where, we spoke to a client, a large client, who, MNC type of a organization. And I realized what the standard for a good insight was, right? What do businesses actually consider a really good insight? Now, to actually achieve this, we had to pivot a lot of technology internally, right? And if I think about it now from that perspective, that, oh my God, the amount I have to change just to meet that level or that quality standard, it's insane. But at that point in time, that's not what I felt. What I felt is, this is what the market wants. This is what I'm going to build. So we had to approach a completely different type of technology, right? We went from analyzing numbers to text. We had to come into NLP. From text, we had to go to video, computer vision. We had to understand slowly with LLMs growing, right? We had to understand how to contextualize with LLMs, how do you integrate with these things, how do you custom train it to get to your extent there, how do you make an insights engine. This was something which is, I'd say, 100 times deeper than what we started with, right? Minimum. So during this phase, when I realized what the standard for a good insight was, what are people willing to pay in the market for, my aim was to do the same amount of insight through AI without human intervention. I think the client, they got these insights after 6 months of research, spending $100,000. I said I want to do the same thing at $1,000 within 15 minutes. Right, that was the challenge I put to myself and my team. And we spent almost, I think, 4 to 5 months purely on the tech. And this time I didn't make the mistake that I made the first time. Instead, before even we built the product, we built the tech first, went to market, tried doing some pilots. Right, we went to businesses. We're like, hey, give me a problem statement. Let me see if my engine can run it. And we ran some insights, gave them reports, and we validated the technology first. And once we validated this, it was pretty clear in the market that this was something interesting. This is something that's groundbreaking, because I'm fundamentally changing the way companies look for insights. I'm fundamentally changing the way you approach research as a whole. And the research industry has not been disrupted, mind you, in the last 50 years. So people start taking note of it, right? You still have skepticism, you have all of that, but we realized that the tech is a hit. Now it's about packaging it in the product, because for any company to scale up, you need to be able to package it. So over time, I think Jan this year was when we closed those phases of pilots, Jan, Feb, when we closed unpaid pilots, essentially tech pilots, quickly built up the product, spun out the product. Again, I think right now, the stage I am and my team is at, we are probably I'd say, very, very, very good at building a product from 0 to 1. We have optimized that entirely. We know what is absolutely required for an MVP, what is not. So I can build a product for you in 30 days. Imagine some complicated product that you can see today at Consuma. It would have taken 30 real full days of manpower with 4 people in the team. That's it. And usually if you go outside, go to agencies, they'll tell you it'll take you a year, 2 years to get to that stage. But that's something we've optimized to maximum level. I'm not saying it's the best product in the world, but I'm saying it provides the functionality that you need and just get me to the next stage of validation, right? So we were pretty good now at changing things to make sure we're flexible, we're agile. Because at a startup, if you're not agile, you're nothing. If you're too rigid, you're nothing there.
Yeah.
So you have to be agile with customer requirements, blah, 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 right? So here what we did is we built this thing, went to market, we started doing paid pilots. So first was a closed range of pilots, which was, we call it our beta stage, right? Our private beta, where we invited people to use it. First unpaid, purely to test the product, make changes, and then slowly we opened it up to paid pilots. So we wanted to test the propensity to pay, because it's not a simple service, right? It's some really value add. Usually SaaS tools, software as a service tools, are operational improvements. I was keeping customer notes in a document. Now I'm keeping it in a CRM. I used to handle support tickets on Google Sheets. Now I do it on Zoho's support system. That's the level of automation you have in SaaS, which is pretty easy to test. And you'd want something very free to actually even get started here. But in our case, the thing is that the value of the insight is so much, right? If I tell you today that people who like deeper blends of coffee also read romantic novels, that is a huge insight for you. It's not something you would have got on your own. And that is something that can fundamentally change the way you run your business, right? Now you're looking at, how do I target these people? How do I make a campaign for them? So we had to test, are people willing to pay? Because that becomes the biggest question, right? Are my insights good enough that you're willing to pay me to get them? And we started paid pilots, again, very, very selective in the clients we get. Because at this stage, right, if you go very broad, you try to be something for everyone, right? You'll have to fundamentally change your product 100 times, and you don't really assess any fit in any domain. So we narrowed the market down to the domains where we saw some initial traction, figured out how do we get paid pilots there through network, through outreach, got a lot of inbound as well, and started generating some revenue. So right now we're in a position where we're generating revenue. We have a really good product. Everyone can go try it out. There's a free trial. You can play around with it. And currently we're testing different, channels which get us to even higher scale and probably, take us to the next level. So I think it was a pretty long monologue, but you asked for the story.
That monologue was worth it, because see, in everything you were saying, you mentioned, like, there were a couple of points that resonated a lot with me. So I want to get to that one by one. First, being that you wanted to test your product first, and then you wanted to package that really well, right? Like you wanted to check if the core technology is worth it, right? And when you started, even before I told you that, before when we were having a coffee, I told you that last time when I met you to now, you have not changed or evolved, right? And partly being that back then the company's vision was the same, now also it's still the same. Like if someone asks me what Consuma is, I will say that it is AI powered market research, and that thing has stayed the same. Like the product has evolved, the tech got deeper, the insight that you provide, like that has varied, but the core vision of the company remained the same. So it really makes sense when you say that, put in effort to build the tech, like which is the heart. Like first build that, then you can, like, slowly build the body, then you can go to the clothes, all the designs, right? Like ultimately how you package the product. That really makes sense because you need the validation, right? Like you get too much into your own head as to if this product is gonna work or not. Like you decide that for yourself, right? Like you fall in love with your product so much that you either are very reluctant to change the direction how you're headed. It's like you're directly talking to the customers, and if you're getting a negative feedback, you change the set of customers until you find someone who is actually agreeing with you, right? Rather than taking no's and then understanding why they're saying no's. So that's a very profound insight in terms of how you actually approach this problem solving, right? Like when you're building a product, how you approach, like that really makes sense. So that was something that resonated with me, the first point. The second point being about the product itself, right? Like you told that for you were running this test for the coffee, right? Like and you got this insight that people who drink black coffee or like the darker coffee, like they like romantic novels, right? Like that's something that you got an insight, like your product gave that insight, right? So like help us understand more of that, because customer insight, that is such a crucial aspect when you're starting a business, right? It's like you need to know who you're making this product to, and you need to know their pattern, because someone who drinks a darker shade of coffee, they read romantic novels. That is such a crucial insight when you want to market, right? Like that's such a subtle thing that you can use in your marketing to have a greater conversion rate, right? So take us more through stuff like that.
So I'll tell you the process, right, or the thought process behind this. Overall vision is this, right? Both for new businesses and for existing guys, even the big guys who are in the market today, brands. Today's consumer is very, very shapeable. He or she is like clay, because there's so much content being created by them and consumed by them online. If you take the mean amount of time that somebody spends online, I think in Karnataka it's around 5 to 6 hours per day people spend on apps, on social media apps. 5 to 6 hours a day is 1/4 of your day is on social media. And this is one domain, right? As an audience, like humans have become very good at consuming content, and some of them have become very good, like yourself, at creating content. And everyone wants to be part of the conversation, everyone wants to be part of the discussion. This creates both opportunity and jeopardy for brands. I'll tell you why. Because today the consumer's mind, the new trends, new preferences are changing every day. Before, it would take, I think, years for some behavioral change to come into play, right? For somebody to adopt a new behavior, let's say even from horses to cars, it would take years for adoption to happen. There are a lot of structural, societal stuff. It's difficult to get to the market, difficult to provide the information to people, and society as a whole stands strong against change. It's a rebuttal to change. But today the inertia to change is very low, right? There's very low inertia pushing you away from change. People are willing to change preferences immediately. In fact, the new generation, right, through research that we've done, and you see research reports from McKinsey, Bain, they say the same thing. The newer generation of Indians, consumers, India and abroad, they have very less loyalty. Brand loyalty is almost non-existent, right? People are a lot more driven by their own requirements, driven by trends, driven by content. So the entire basis is that today's consumer changes so much, today's market is in flux. And at the same time, there are brands, your competitors, are also evolving, right? Every day, somebody's trying to challenge the status quo. You go online, you take shoes, for example. Recently, there was a company, I think, which came on Shark Tank, right? They challenged the status quo by building casual workwear shoes with sustainable stuff. There are Nikes who are always finding a new type of Jordans to grab the market there. You have Adidas who wants to do something else. Reebok trying to reinvent itself. The big players are there, but the D2C brands also are evolving. People are... It's the barrier to building something is low, and with the amount of capital in from VCs and PE firms, people can keep evolving, keep innovating. That means as a brand, if I am stable, to be stable is to die. Because if I'm not moving forward, that stability is non-existent here. So with so much flux happening, right? Your competitors challenging, you have consumers changing their mind. You can no longer afford the long research cycle for processes. You can no, because see, insights drive businesses, right? When I'm a business owner, I'm a brand manager, marketing manager, product manager. Insights drive my decisions. If I know insights, like the romantic novels and books one, and coffee. As a brand manager, I know how to position my brand. As a marketing manager, I know how to market this product. As a product manager, I know how to build the product. All these three things, one insight can drive you. So business is starting to realize that they can't afford weeks or months to get insights, and they need it in real time. They can't get an insight after the behavior has changed. If I tell you this, and in 6 months time this behavior will be new again, how will you be able to correlate? Like, this was, I think, when this insight we got it when Colleen Hoover, the author, she writes rom-coms. I think she was trending for a while, and we realized during that time period that this was a big thing. Now I don't know if it's still true today, right? We'll have to go and check the engine again to see whether this trend even exists today, because the market is so much in flux that you can't take anything as a solid truth for too long. And now, can you imagine wasting 6 months to get to an insight like this? By the time the insight only has changed, right? People have already changed their minds by then, or some competitors already moved before you and cracked the market there. So the entire state of market today is that people need real-time answers, they need immediate insights, and they need some additional dimension. They need some way to make sense of the digital data. That's where we come in, right? The way our system works is that for any sort of category, we track and monitor every sort of conversation happening online. So for coffee, I'll be tracking blogs, I'll be tracking reels, I'll be tracking social media posts, reviews. Our engine automatically tracks all of this in real time. Next thing is, it tries to process this all in an insights engine. So we spent a lot of time, right? Almost 6 months to a year, focusing on our core insights engine. This understands text, audio, video, whatever sort of formats of data, makes sense of it, and brings out insights, right? Like the insights which I just told you, how can you connect these two? Now, the interesting thing was, for one of the snacks brands, we found that their consumers love consuming it in bulk. But they had only 125 grams and 250 grams packets. So we told them, hey, people want it in bulk, you should have bulk options there, and that became their immediate channel of revenue for them. It's one of the best-selling revenue channels now. So we generate these insights using this proprietary engine, and then we feed it out to get to the next level actionable. So you can get it in a dashboard. You can say you're looking for new behaviors, we'll give you new behaviors. You're looking for new trends. You look for generic insights. You're looking for competition research. We basically let you put in your traditional problem statement or research brief, put in some details about your brand, details about your competition. We give you a lot of parameters to control, and the platform, on a weekly basis in real time, it gives you the top insights that answer your question, right? It keeps track and keeps mining these insights for you. Because essentially today, knowledge is the differentiator. Knowledge and data, right? And that's the differentiator for businesses. If I have a dimension of knowledge that you don't, I'm beating you. It's simple as that. If, let's say, two coffee brands at the same time, one brand knows about this, the other brand doesn't know about the romantic novel, this guy is beating him at least in this domain for the next 2 to 3 weeks when he does the campaign. So essentially, that's the depth of engine we've built, and slowly we've realized how this can be leveraged as well. And with the growth of LLMs, right? We've been using OpenAI's core, the architecture itself, long before everyone else, right? So we feed our proprietary insights into LLMs to try and generate even further actionable items. So, for example, marketing is a very important use case with us, because marketing teams actually spend the most time researching the user. Product teams might need some time to implement, but marketing teams can rapidly put out. And I strongly believe the future is in rapid micro strategies. There's no longer, you usually have in marketing, quick brief is, you have a macro strategy, right? Usually you have like overall strategy that the brand comes over, and you keep adding out micro strategies to go and target smaller segments. But now the game is away from the macro campaigns. Macro campaigns, yes, I mean, you've cracked it. There's not too much depth in it. But you need to be able to target micro campaigns, as in something that interests probably just 5-6% of your overall audience, but completely contextualized, completely personalized to them. So they connect to it a lot better. Why brands couldn't do this before is the effort that is needed to research this segment, keep track of it, create an entire content around it is too much. But now we integrate with LLMs to create these campaigns in real time. So every week we can give you marketing campaigns that target specific TGs in specific groups. That, let's say 10,000 people in Bangalore are complaining about floods in this one road, right? Which could be a very micro thing. It might not even come out as a trend in the national level analysis. But when you look at this micro level thing, You put out some content relevant to them, they are all engaging with it. You put it in the language they want, you put it in the way they want. So we're removing that friction. So we're trying to find these applications through advancements in LLM, through our own technology, to try and get you actionable items as well from the research. So essentially that's the entire pipeline. But the core or the crux of the entire thing is this, right? People want an additional dimension to inform their decision making, and what better way to do it than with AI?
Yeah. Also, it's very interesting that you use this terminology like micro strategies, right? It completely makes sense, because when you go on Instagram, let's say if you're creating a reel, or so I put snippets of the podcast as reels, right? So in that process, when you go to the music section where you want to add music, so I'm saying this from a content creation standpoint, where a movie is released and one of their music is trending now, and that is gonna trend, like the trend reaches to the peak, like where you hear that music everywhere, and that thing fades away, right?
Correct.
And a lot of people just like they enter that bus when it's going up, and they just leave, and they leave. And whoever is in the content creation space, they don't want that reel to be relevant 3-4 years down the line, right? Like they're not creating content for that, like they're not looking at that, like they anything that you find funny now might not be funny to you 1 year down the line. So all the content creators who are creating content, they just want to be relevant now. Like when they're creating content, they want to be relevant now, right? And it's very interesting to use this as a context when people want to market themselves. It's very important to understand these micro trends, right? Like once you understand this, it's like you're hitting right on the red dot. Like you're not wasting. There's so much of resources that you saved. There's so much of time that you saved. It's a very interesting thing. You don't even need a marketing campaign that's so huge that, like you need 3-4 years of that campaign you put in. Like people normally when they do marketing campaign, they do for like 3 months, 6 months, right? And like I think that's a very interesting insight that I gained today.
Because like I'll tell you, right, there are two ways to look at any business. In fact, I always say this, right? So recently we've been speaking to a lot of students where a lot of students are kind of inspired by our journeys as entrepreneurs, right? And through Co-Create or PVL and some of our investors, they take us to some of these colleges where we get to share our experiences with others who want to start up or who are in this space. And a lot of times the way I like to explain business is very simple, right? Because see, I'm not a MBA. I haven't done my education in business, right? I've probably attended a few of the commerce classes when I was in 12th, purely just to go and beat my friends in the other section. But apart from that, my business knowledge is limited to practicalities, right? So, and even that, I would say, I mean, I'm not a crude businessman. Like you see the guys who run retail shops, who run dealerships, who run wholesalers. These guys are the actual businessmen, right? On which the country is based on. So, I mean, I'm nothing compared to these guys. But in my own limited context, what I like to at least rationalize is, you either as any sort of startup business, whatever, you either solve someone's bottom line or you solve someone's top line. As in, I either help you add value, increase revenue, or I help you cut costs. There are only two things I can do. If I'm not doing either of these things, then I am not viable as a business, right? If I'm purely in between and I'm not really helping you increase top line, not helping you reduce bottom line, then I am positioning, right? It might go successful, but it's more of just like
novelty.
It's a showcase, right? It's like to prove something to my superiors, I have bought the product. That's all. And a lot of these businesses exist and they might do well, which no doubt. But it's not a business that I like to be in, because fundamentally startups are simple. Any business is simple. Add value, monetize value, right? You need to create some value somewhere and you monetize that value somewhere. If your value that you're creating is not enough to monetize, then it's not viable. Simple. If you're not creating value at all, you're not a business either, right? You're just playing around there. So value to monetization is my major stuff here. So in consumer, right, I can see both these angles. In revenue increasing, it's simple, right? I'm giving you new insights that let you bring in more revenue. It gives you an additional dimension that helps you better market, better product, create new products, create new stuff that helps you bring in more revenue or increase your sales, increase the markets that you're in. But at the same time, you're also looking at reducing costs. The amounts companies spend today on research is huge, right? I think almost $700 billion in a year is spent only in FMCG market research. $700 billion. You look at Kantar, you look at Nielsen, you look at all the big market research firms. These guys are, multi-billion-dollar companies purely from the basis of companies need market research.
They also have like a separate department for it, right?
Absolutely. A lot of the larger companies, they have divisions that only focus internally and externally on insights. But the amount of money these guys are spending here is huge. So with these type of tools, right, because we're removing human intervention in the entire process and we're looking a lot more deeper than your humans can in terms of coverage, in terms of real time, in terms of how do you extract meaning from words that's interlinked in a graph. That is deeper, better, but also cheaper, also faster. In businesses today, time is money. You'll go to any big corporate, right, Fortune 500, they measure output by man hours saved. Any HR policy I put in, right, to improve productivity, it's purely on man hours saved, because when I calculate or convert the man hours into actual pay, that's huge money. So how do you make it faster, easier, and better, right? This is you remember my initial thesis, right? A business can do one of four things: easier, better, faster, cheaper. You can either be easier, that means you're making it more accessible, you're improving the ease or convenience. Better, you're adding more quality, adding more value in terms of better quality, better results, better dimensions. Faster, you're saving time, or cheaper, you're saving cost. These are the four things a startup can innovate on or disrupt someone on. And it's always good to have as many of these accurately done as possible, right? So in this case, obviously, we're making it easier for you to get insights. We're making it better because we're getting you deeper, better quality insights. Making it faster because we're taking 6 weeks, 6 months, converting it into 15 minutes. And cheaper, definitely, right? When you consider the amounts you spend on that to get to the same outcome as spending on this, it's cheaper. It's an expensive product, but it's cheaper than the alternatives, right? So we hit the nail on all four of these domains, which I think is key to disrupt. We'll see how it goes in the future, but so far we're seeing this, right? So both in bottom line and top line. And why I mentioned this is that businesses usually, right, the trend you see, and there are a lot of market dynamics that happen today where, as a business during COVID, for example, I'm looking only at my bottom line. I'm not looking at my top line anymore. I don't want value add to top line. I just want to cut down my costs, because that's the easiest thing to do. Cut down costs is easier than bringing in revenue, usually, typically. So as a business, if you only help top line, right, and I think you've heard this this comparison, are you a paracetamol or are you a vitamin? As a business, a paracetamol is a painkiller. Everyone needs a paracetamol. When you're in pain, you need a paracetamol. A vitamin is more of a bonus. Like, a lot of people who have the means will take vitamins, but you miss it one day also, there's no issue. And when things are bad, let's say you're not having money for meals, you'll buy a painkiller, you might not buy the vitamins. So when things are tough, you need to be a paracetamol there. You need to be both a painkiller as well as a value adder.
Also, the impact time is also less, right? Like the impact that paracetamol has on you, that's faster compared to vitamin, right? Like vitamin, you need to keep taking it.
And sometimes vitamin also, you can't really tangibly see the value, right? There's more of, if I solve a problem for you, it's great. If I'm just giving you additional information, you might not be able to value it as much, unless you're in the right state of mind to do it, right? So which is why I think, why I was touching upon this is, as a business, right, what we want to be is both of these. We add a lot of value to you, but at the same time, operationally, if you look at it also, if you evaluate it, we're making it easier for you, faster for you, cheaper for you to get the desired results as a business. So these both domains, I think any business starting out, a lot of time we spent is on this only. Because if you're just purely becoming a value add play, it's difficult to justify your existence there in a bear market. How do you justify your existence in a bear market is a major part. So that's what I just wanted to touch upon, because value is a very subjective thing. Based on market circumstances, people look at value differently.
Yeah.
But when you can say, I save you 10% of bottom line, I'm able to cut down your cost by 10%, there's no debating it, there's no arguing it. That's a very tangible, to the point thing.
Results speak for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Also in businesses, money is the key. Like, no matter what people say, no matter what any entrepreneur CEO says, if they say that money is secondary, that means they're doing something wrong. Like, either to stakeholder or to consumer, like either which ways. Because money, you shouldn't be too obsessive about it as well. In a sense where that's all you care about, even if the customer is dying, like that's too obsessive. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. It's that this tangibly shows you result. It's like when either your business is making money or you're losing money. Like, there's nothing in between, right? So I think the sooner the entrepreneurs are clear on this, the better it is, right?
I think here one just small, you're completely right? Money is kind of like health. Why I say that is, you can, I mean, you don't obsess over it, but it's a necessity to survive. If you're not healthy, if you're not healthy in terms of financially, and you're not making money as a business, you're useless. There's no point. That's why, right? Creating value is great. Monetizing value is where the money is at. That's where you are a real business. So absolutely agree that I mean, that's the bread and butter. But over here, I think there are certain businesses or certain visions that will look bad on the money front for a while, because there is strategic vision which may be larger than this, right? Which we might not know from first look. Right? There are a lot of businesses where, to make it viable itself, you need to spend a lot of money, a lot of resources to get it to a stage that it's viable. And these business models purely exist due to the innovative capacity of VCs. For VCs to be able to see this, or PE firms to be able to see this vision by startup founders who say that, hey, I will be burning this much money for this much amount of time to get to a stage that I am viable, and they're ready to back them. That's the entire reason why, some company, when you see they're making huge losses, because while internally, if their original model itself is not viable, then there's no point of all this. But if there is a model that is viable, but it requires some amount of effort to get to viability. So I'll give you an example, right? Businesses that require, when you're trying to disrupt incumbents, you're trying to disrupt huge companies, especially in the consumer space, network effect is the biggest moat. For you to get viable, you need a network effect. That means you need a minimum mass of customers on your platform for it to be viable to disrupt someone bigger. Now, to do that, if you go sustainably, you will never get there. Right? Let's say I want to build a new Facebook or build a new social media platform. For me to sustainably do it, it's impossible, because I'll get 100 customers. I'll get 100 users. For me to monetize them off ads, you will know how small the rates are. You'll never make any money. But at the same time, if I burn a lot of money, forget my entire business model, in terms of revenue making for a while, get to a scale where I am challenging I at least have enough networks on my platform. I have enough people with their friend groups on my platform. Then I figure out a revenue model, right? Obviously, it needs to be strategically thought through, but you are willing to sacrifice your body for a while to get to the gains at that stage. So, again, coming back to our analogy in terms of health, when I say money is like health, sometimes you got to sacrifice your health to work entirely on something else, which can then later help your health, right? Take, like, in hardships, you want to work very hard and make sure you get enough whatever to fuel your body before you think about health.
It's like a workout, right? Like you're putting in a lot. Yeah. Your body is taking in the effort and pain for the greater good.
Exactly. But as long as you already have some vision to the greater...
Yeah, I think that plays a key, right? Like, even when I was a part of that incubation that you were a part of, right? I've seen a lot of startups be superficial that way. It's like, you don't need to have a end result as to how you're making in money, but it's just that the sheer clarity of thought that you need to have in terms of the product. It's like, if your product is solving a problem, if not now, in the future, sometime it's gonna make money. But my thought is that even for you to burn cash, right, you need to reach a certain level. So when you see the Ambanis, right, like, they are the paramount of business right now, right? Like, they're in the top A right now, and they enter a new field. They invest thousands of crores into that business with a plan of 10 to 15 years down the line, right? Because they can afford that. Like, they have money for the fuel. Like, they keep putting until the company reaches to a point where it makes money, right? And I think as a business founder and as a CEO, you need to be very strategic in that front, right? It's like, how can I be here and also aim for tomorrow? It's like that, like, you can't completely go that way because you don't have that fuel. Like, you need money, right? Even to burn cash, you need cash. Like, how do you get that cash,
I think a couple of things. Good thing that you brought up Reliance, right? So before that, usually the cash comes in from guys who back you, right? Unless you're an Ambani where you are the guy who backs you. You need someone in the market to buy in your vision. Usually VC firms, PE firms exist for this sole reason, right? Funding your losses, for the benefit of the business or cash flows in the future. But a beautiful example in terms of sacrificing revenue now or sacrificing business model ethics now for the future with a strategic vision, I would say, is Jio. When Jio launched, right? And Jio had to take on incumbents like Airtel. How do you take on a broadband industry? It's crazy, man, because these guys have footholds. You have millions of towers, mobile towers, you have network signals that you've set up. There's so much that needs to be done. And customers already have a lot of inertia to shift. I have a mobile number, it's pretty difficult for me to change my SIM card to a Jio. But Jio, like, what they did is, they know the only way they can start making money off of it is if they have enough people on Jio. Otherwise, it's useless, right? It's not viable at a low scale. So what they do, they blitzed the market, they gave out for free, they leased out some of Airtel's itself, their mobile towers, they set up the infrastructure, spent money, gave it out at very cheap costs, and they got every consumer on that platform. And once they have everyone on Jio, they either increase the prices or upsell other services that they have. Similarly, Jio Cinema, I think recently I read an article where Jio Cinema, I think, is the second most revenue-making subscription business in India.
Okay.
Compared to all the OTT platforms, I think they're first or second.
That came recently, right? Jio Cinema.
Yes. So how do they work? They spent a lot of money making it free. So Hotstar was a paid service. I had to buy subscription to watch IPL. When Jio Cinema bought the rights to IPL, when they bought the rights to World Cup, they made it free for everyone. They monetized off of ads. Now when they made it free for everyone and you had to join, you had to subscribe. Subscribe for a free version. You're now their customer. They started to upsell a lot of serials. They started buying. I think they bought Succession, a very famous TV show.
They have a tie-up with HBO, right? For content.
So they started getting a good amount of content. There are a lot of consumers on the platform already, which they're making money off of ads, right? Because you have 1.5 crore, I remember, for the IPL final watching on Jio Cinema.
It was actually more. Like, it wasn't even... I think that at the peak, I have seen 2.5 crore for not even final.
Oh wow! So I could be wrong here, yeah. But imagine that numbers, right? Getting those many numbers on a platform, purely because they opened it up. They said, hey, anyone can come, anyone can do whatever they want here. And when they did that, they have a massive amount of ads they can distribute. They have massive amount of accounts they have, and that's data as well, right? I don't know if you remember, but during the show, they would ask you questions, right? Multiple choice type of questions, like would you rather do this, would you rather do that, which is a huge data collection game for them as well. So it's very strategically done, right? Any money that they've burnt, there is strategy in terms of how do you get that? Why are you burning it? So I think that's the fundamental difference, right? When I look at this, I am all for founders who want to burn money to get somewhere, but there needs to be some sort of strategy to it, right? For example, cred, right? You can see both ends of the spectrum. You can see people who think that he has absolutely no clue what he's doing and he's burning money and having fun, and there is the other spectrum who thinks he's a genius for doing whatever Kunal Shah is doing. I think either could be true, right? Knowing in terms of, I don't know Kunal Shah personally, but based off of what he has done before, I think he's a smart guy, right? He knows his stuff here. So I'm sure him and his investors would have some sort of strategy or vision in mind, which again will justify his long-term game that they're playing. And to play the long-term game, you need to have money. That's I think the fundamental. You need to either have backers with money or you need to have money yourself to be able to play those long-term games.
Okay. So let's talk about money from a startup perspective, okay? Like, you're 21 years now, and when you started this company, you were 19. And you were born in an incubation, right? So, see, the reason why I'm asking you this question regarding money for startups, because before you have money in your hand, everything looks very dreamy and superficial, right? Like, because I have been curious about business, about entrepreneurship ever since I was a kid. I've not started a business, but I always think in that front, right? Like, even when I'm doing this podcast, anything that I think, right, that might not look like a business, but when I'm thinking, I think from that standpoint, okay? Like from that mindset. My aim is that at one point, I would love to start a business. I want to do that, okay? The reason why I'm asking you this question is that I have seen you, Abhilash. Like, I've seen you in a place where normally all the startups, like where they start, I have seen you. And now you're at a point where you're making revenue in lakhs, right? And if you don't mind me asking, what is your company valued at right now?
So again, valuation is a very subjective game, right? Valuation usually happens only at fundraise points.
Yeah. So now, like at this point, if I want to buy like 50% of your company right now, I mean, you won't give me, but I'm just asking, what is the price of your company right now in tech? Especially coming from tech, right? Like tech meaning you are not buying the company, you're buying the potential of the company,
so
right?
Usually at early stages, right, your valuation is purely based off of future, right? You look at, okay, this tech, this market opportunity, what's the TAM, what's the scale. Is this guy the right founder? Is this team the right team to crack this market?
Yeah.
Right. So usually these valuations, if you notice, right, will go in the market. You have crazy range.
Yeah.
Usually,
especially in tech, like bonkers.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've seen, right, recently I think a company raised $105 or $115 million round, a Paris-based company which is building LLMs pre-seed, right? They are doing something with just concept-wise. They had, I think, recently became viral, right? Their 11-page brief pitch note is all they needed to raise. They had a Google Doc and they raised $100 million. But that's the vision, right? You can't say that. If you take them, and my vision at that stage I also had a great vision, but it's not apples to apples there. So valuations, I think, become a lot more realistic only when you go to the later stages. You look at, so let's take SaaS companies, right? Software as a service. Usually you have a revenue cash flow, because they're very cash flow friendly. In a SaaS, it's very simple. You get recurring revenue, you have subscription revenue, and usually your CAC or your acquisition costs are marginal compared to this, right? If you keep a customer more than N number of months, you're profitable for that customer. So when you have this type of structure, you have a lot of good cash flows, and in SaaS businesses, it's simple. You look at some revenue multiple, right? You have an ARR of, let's say, $10 million ARR. You get a 10x multiple, you'll be valued at $100 million. But that's only once a company is mature enough. You are past product market fit, you're past channel fit, traction fit, and you get to a stage. But early stage, it completely depends on the vision of the investor, of the founder. So why I'm telling you this is context for everyone here is that in an early stage, right? Usually it's discrete points. You'd imagine that valuation is a journey, right? You're here. Every minute you spend is actually increasing the valuation of the company because you're de-risking the company. Right? Every additional day I'm spending on consumer, I'm de-risking it by one more opportunity. Right? I have found some other flaw which I have fixed in the company, which makes it de-risked. Like today, if you look at me versus 1 year back, I would have met 1,000 or 10,000 different people in between talking about consumer. Who added value, who would have brought up some questions, who would have challenged my perspectives. For me to get to a stage where I know now that I would have exhausted a lot of the, you remember one point you brought up, right? What I don't know that I don't know. That's very limited now. I have minimalized the risk of something which I don't know sabotaging me. There was always a risk of something that I know sabotaging me, but that I can account for, that I can work around. So every additional day that I work on, I'm usually de-risking the company. Right? I'm talking to every additional customer, even if he says no, I'm de-risking because I know that this doesn't work here. So I can figure out how to make it work. So ideally, it's a journey. Valuation, you say that, okay, we started at $1 million valuation, which is where we got a pre-seed round at. And it should be 2 years from now, it should be X amount. But in early stage, it's usually discrete points. So you have this fundraise, you have the next fundraise. And then you draw a curve in between to justify in between. But that second round usually is aspected based on three variables, right? One variable is growth from the stage. Second variable is the overall concept and the TAM, which is the total market that you're targeting. Like for us, it's a pretty large TAM. We're saying we can get to $700 billion purely in the FMCG vertical is spent on market research, right? $700 billion. So this is not a small market. And this is not the only market we're in as well. We can work for travel industries, we can work for software businesses, apps, games, across the board. So we have a huge market size, which means that, the opportunity is humongous. Plus tech-based, we're deep tech into AI, adding value through technology, and technology itself is a moat, right? We have a patent pending in the Indian office. We're filing a patent in the USPTO soon. We should have like some really good tech defensibility. Plus our team itself, right? I think we have some of the smartest, talented engineers in my team, the smartest, talented marketing guys working with me. Where the things we do are I think, young, smart, and quick, right? As a team, also we're pretty mature. So these three variables impact it, but there's no speculation now, right? Until I can get to a round.
Okay.
Because again, see, anything which I speculate may or may not be true. It totally depends on, I'll have a number, everyone has a number, but it depends on what you get into discussions. So,
Okay. So the reason why I've asked this question is that I have a point to make in the sense where currently, let's not discuss the valuation or the revenue, okay? But I'll just give like in umbrella that I have seen where you started from like scratch, in the sense where we were getting on WebEx, we were getting on Zoom, we are like, let's design this today, or like, you were talking to these other tech people, we like, you were having conversations on a very base level, right? Like now the company is making revenue in lakhs, okay? The reason is that you are like an example, basically. I want to give you as an example for all the people who think that, all of this, they want to do something, but even before they actually start something or they have the product, nothing looks tangible or everything looks very dreamy and superficial, right? And you are an example of actually bringing the product to the market and actually making money. And when I say people like you, it it gives me the sense of clarity that this can happen. I'm sure that 2 years back when you started this company, you had these goals, ambitions, but at the bottom you have this question like, will this happen? Like at least like tiny bit of question. Did you have that?
So again, it might be a little different from what you're saying. I don't think I had doubt in terms of will this happen. It was more of what will stop me from making this happen.
Okay.
Right? It's a different. I mean, same avatar but different way to approach it. I never had a doubt that it will happen. I mean, it will happen. Even now, I don't know if I'm successful or not. But to get to a stage where I consider myself very successful, it will happen if I put my mind to it. The questions are, what will stop me from making it happen? Right? What are the challenges on the road that I need to be careful of? How do I approach them? Right? This is not confidence. It's more of there's this principle. Right? It's called the pilot in the plane principle. Any situation in the plane, you're still the pilot. You'll still crash probably if the market around you, if things around you fail, if that everything out of your control fails. It is difficult for you to survive. But end of the day, you're the pilot in the plane. You're in charge. You're at the wheel. You're in charge. And as long as you're in charge, that you can take measures to decide the direction or the destiny that you're going towards, right? So, as far as that is true, I'm pretty confident that I am internally confident that I'm the right guy to do what I need to do here. Right? I know I believe in that. It's just more of understanding what can stop me from doing it. And making sure that I maneuver such a way that I avoid those obstacles. Right? For me, that's the most important part. How do I avoid obstacles or how do I solve challenges between me and my goals? And that's what we did even back then. Right? My challenges were that, will the market take me seriously? What does the market expect? Very important challenge was that, I think a lot of people told me this, but I never felt the challenge, was that you're a student or you're a youngster trying to enter a market where, market research guys are in their 40s, in their 50s, where they're extremely smart, extremely, I wouldn't say arrogant, but extremely confident in their own abilities to do things, that they don't believe that somebody with some, doing some AI stuff can go and help them out there. But we crossed all of that. I think it was a certain challenge, but slowly when you realize that once you're in the market for long enough and you're talking to enough people, right? Today I work with a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys who people told me that will they might see this as a challenging thing. They won't take it seriously. They won't. This is the initial stage, right? Of course, when it was just a concept. Slowly, when you see the proof of the pudding, right? The doubts go away. When you look at my product, when you use me, when you hear the insights that we've given businesses, when you see the revenue, when you see the clients, your doubts slowly move away, right? You stop focusing on why it won't work and start focusing on how do you improve it even further. So that's the way that you look at it. Like, if you ask me for the difference between then and now, I'd refer back to what you're saying, right? I don't think I've changed fundamentally. It's the same guy, it's the same mindset, it's the same vision, it's the same, I'd say, delusion in my mind, right? My delusions are of grandeur I have, that I want to get there. But it's more of an evolved version of that. Mature, I don't know if that's the word, but benefit of experience, right? A lot of things that I have gone through that give me a lot more comfort, that I know a lot more things that I didn't know then.
The reason why I am asking you these questions, or I'm taking conversation in this route, is because that there are like in Bangalore, what I've seen is that or not just Bangalore, Mumbai, everywhere, like in India, anywhere there is like startup attraction, right? There are like 3 types of people. One who are very overconfident with their startup. Like we have seen people who raise money and they've just eaten all that money up without delivering the product out there, right? Like we've seen people like that in the startup scene. And there is this other set of people who want to do something, genuinely, but they don't know what they want to do, or like focus on like basically the solution. Like what solution do you want to provide? Like what's the problem you want to tackle, right? Like the people who are not aware of that. And there's this third set of people who are like genuinely focusing on a problem. Like they are doing it, right? Like in a sense, people like you who have a problem that they want to solve and they're going. Like I'm just trying to build a very practical vision and practical steps for people to follow, like that's the intention of me asking you these questions. Because if you go talk to a kid, let's say who's in his 10th or 11th, And if you want to talk to, if you are in Bangalore, then on your way you might have seen a VC firm, or you might have seen an investment firm. So you're like, in case if I have a startup idea, I can come to these people. You're tangibly seeing that. And people who are living in like remote areas where they don't have access to actually seeing the possibility of something happening. So I'm just asking these questions because uh, how do people bring their idea into fruition, like raising an investment with an investor. Even now, since I've not started a business, that seems very in the sense not possible, since that has not already become in my head. It looks like, since that is yet to happen, it looks very there's a sense of doubt, there's a sense of lack of knowledge as to how that is going to happen. So someone who has an idea, money is very important, like for people, right? So how is it that people should approach this whole investment thing? Like, if I have an idea and somehow I'm trying to bootstrap it, okay, like I'm connecting with my friends, or like I'm trying to build the product somehow, and from there, how do I go about it?
Okay, so first of all, I think it's I'm not the best person to answer this in terms of, I mean, like, in my belief that there's no one correct answer to this, right? I can only explain based on my whatever I have gone through. I'll give you more of anecdotes from that, but what I'd suggest is that anyone listening to this, apply your own context, right? Because I think a lot of advice is context based. I don't like advice because there's no absolute truth advice. Any absolute truth advice is very obvious stuff, right? I can tell you that raising money can help you make money. That's a very high level absolute statement that it doesn't help anyone, and a lot of people get famous on such statements because it's true for almost every situation. There's no, or it's not like enough for you to, it's not deep enough that actually helps you in
That's
life.
how motivational speakers
Absolutely
work, right?
and sure, I mean, they have their own benefits there, right? Because a lot of times you just want to hear the things that reinforces in your mind. Everyone knows if you work hard you'll get somewhere, but hearing a Joe Rogan or someone else tell you that, hey, work hard, it's a different type of feeling, right? You might get more motivated, and there are sort of sections of the population that actually it benefits. So I won't mock it too much, but in general, I think any advice is context based. Advice that impacts me may not impact you. I myself have my own biases, I have my own privileges that got me to this level, right? And my advice, if I give you, and let's say you don't have the same type of privilege that I was lucky to be, brought up with, it doesn't apply to you anymore. It's useless hearing it from me, right? If you're struggling financially, and I didn't have to struggle financially, right? I didn't have education loans on my head, I didn't have to worry about the things that many people might have to worry about, then my advice makes no sense to you. The context is absolutely different. If you listen to me, you will be screwing up your life there. That's why I think the way I would want to answer this question, or any question which last time also I mentioned, right, is purely through experience. I'll give you context in terms of what I was in and what I did, right? And then you can figure out, because I think this is the best way to explain it. When I used to play football, right? I wanted to really make it as a footballer in my younger years, almost from like 12 years old to up to 19, 20, or almost like when I started Consuma. Until then, I played at the national leagues and decent level at youth stage. That time, I never used to like listening to just people giving advice. I mean, initially I liked it, but what I liked more was reading autobiographies. Because in autobiographies, you don't actually just hear advice. You see context, you see situation, and you see what they did in that situation. My favorite autobiography is Rooney's autobiography, Wayne Rooney's autobiography. It's a beautiful book, right? When he writes about every situation, what was going through his mind. You understand his mindset. You understand? In certain situation, given all variables same, what decision he makes versus what you would make. That is something that excited me. More than reading manuals, reading theoretical, I call it mental masturbation, right? When people are, mentally they're theoretically creating things, but in reality you're not doing anything there. So I like seeing the stories of real people, seeing the context behind the stories, and then connecting it to my situation myself, right? Like Rooney, when he was a young guy, he also faced a similar situation. He was a chubby lad. He didn't have much of fitness background, but the way he treated is he went and went boxing with his uncle every week. He went training on his own. He didn't have a bunch of friends to train with, so he used to go to the local grounds, kick the ball from one end to the other, run to the other end, kick it from the other end to there. And today he's one of the best players in terms of long balls as well, right? I think one of his biggest moments, which everyone would know, is I think for DC United or a US club, he ran 100 meters back, slide tackled someone in the 95th minute, played a long ball that went and got them the winning goal. Right? Everyone thought its match is lost. He was alone. The guy could have gone on through on goal. Went slide tackled him when he was, I think, 38, 39. And this, if you connect back to what I read in his autobiography, he was doing the same thing as a kid. The stakes were just a lot lower and there was no one around him. This time he had 100,000 people watching him when he did this thing. So that is what I like to hear. So that's why I'd like to give some context in terms of what I did, right? So first of all, I don't believe raising investment, or at least when I started off, right, before consumer, I decided I want to be an entrepreneur. In terms of I wanted to chase some sort of opportunity where I build my own thing, take it to the market. And the initial opportunities that I chased, right, I did not even think of investment. My aim was, in a business, what is it? What do you need to have? You need to have customers. You need to have users. If you're not a revenue-based thing yet, you need to have users. So I think my initial concept was hyperlocal marketplaces. I saw a problem very focused around my community in Whitefield, one of my localities, where I saw a problem, tried to solve it, built my own, and I was not a techie then, right? And in terms of, I knew the limits of tech, boundaries of tech, but I wasn't a coder, I wasn't a developer, I wasn't into tech the level I am now, right? But taught myself what do I need to, because again, knowledge today is one of the biggest commodities. It's become a commoditized item. You can learn anything you want. You pick something, give it 2 weeks of your life, you learn it, right? There's enough knowledge online for free that you can do it. So what I did was I built something. I wanted to validate it, know how to launch it in a smaller market, see how it grows. Then you get flaws, you understand market problems, we see that, figure out how to change it. Now, the only reason how I got connected to Co-Create, who are our investors today, was that this is one of the products which I was building, right? I had got it was a marketplace. I had got almost 110 vendors on the platform within like a few days. People were very excited to sell their products on it. Problem was the amount of GMV on the platform was low. The thing that had a high GMV is gross merchandise value, which is how much amount of cash flow is happening on the thing, how much purchases are happening, because as a marketplace you can take only a percentage fee off the GMV, so that becomes your revenue. In this space where I was trying to target, it was a very small niche. The GMV, the market which had GMV required better tech. It required an app-based system or something which I couldn't build right then and there. So what I reached out to people for through the entrepreneurship cell and through to Co-Create was purely on help in terms of I need someone to come and build me this. I just need help in building this app. Either I learn it on my own in a month and do it, or I take help from somebody who's done it already and then get them in so that we build it. So that's always been the mindset, and that's how we started off this as well, right? Even in the starting days of Consumer, I mean, if you go talk to Co-Create, talk to Suresh Narsama, who's our investor, the conversation between me and him was very simple. It was, where do I want to get? What do I need to get there? And what do I need is more in terms of resources itself, right? It's not that, okay, I need 100,000 to get there. 100,000 is more of a means to an end. You need to actually, if you put it out, I need a product. In fact, the initial consumer models, I built the tech on my own, the core tech on my own. And once we build the tech, we said that, okay, what do I need to take this to the next level? I need it to be polished. I need a product. So for that, again, either I spend a lot of time designing or we get designers. So we got you in, we said, hey, let's design this. I need a few developers, web dev guys to come and package the product into a SaaS product itself, like a software product. We need a few help, connections to go and do the 0 to 1 sales, try and get some market validation. So it was more of, what do I need? And that's how I would suggest any entrepreneur to approach it, right? Your need is not money, at least initial stage, right? Your need is not money. Your need is more granular, more tangible. It's only in the later rounds that you realize that you start converting those tangibles into money, right? You say that even now, if I have to raise a round, I'd be saying that to get to this sort of a milestone, what are the things I need? I put down the resources, then convert the resources into money. So a lot of times you don't need it, right? A lot of business models, you don't need investment to get started.
Right. I was also under the same train of thought, but recently I've seen one of my co-brother who started his company, right? I was talking
Correct.
to you about that trading thing. For him to get registered as a company, to take all the formalities, to all of that requires money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that he has a job and he's 26 years old and he has a good amount of salary that he's making per month. And he told me that if I didn't have a job, I don't think I could afford all of these things,
Correct.
bringing that company to fruition. So until that point, I didn't realize that, in terms of practicality, when you get started with everything, right? Even if you want a designer, you need to pay the designer, right? So you need a certain amount of cash. Either you save up to that, all of that, but you spend a certain amount of time and resources for you to bring that cash, and that cash can only give you a certain amount of mileage, right? Like you can use this cash only for 3 months. Like I can hire a designer, a developer, a tester, or a marketing guy, anyone, like whoever the need that you have.
Correct.
You know that I can use all of these people just for 3 months, so like 1 month, like that's the amount of cash I need. Post that, what do? Unless this is a tangible product, like where I go buy pens for 100 rupees and I sell each pen for like 15 rupees and I make like 300 rupees again, I inventory. So this is like a proper hardcore business, right? With like a physical product, like that makes sense. But when you're building something like this, that is not in terms of like tangible, like software, all of this, right? This requires a lot of continued effort. It's not just like you go buy the product and you
You're
do
right,
that,
yeah.
right? Like you need to continue. So that's when I realized, okay, you need a certain set of capital, but you need to be very wary of that also. Like you need to be very...
So here I'll give you something in terms of this example, right? So I think it's like an approach. It's all based on approach. So in this situation, let's say registering a company is a problem, right? Registering a company, we don't have cash to register. Why are you registering the company in the first place? You don't need to register a company. See, what you're doing essentially in a company, you don't need to register a company to be a business, right? I mean, in terms of, at least, I'm not talking about the legalities, I'm talking about realities. If you're being frugal about it, how would you approach it, right? How I would approach this is, it's simple. I would say that, and this is how I did approach it as well. In initial days, I never had to register for a company, spend all the money, capital, amount to try and worry about all of that. You'd have to have paid up capital, bank accounts. This is a headache even before you have a headache to solve. What's the first stage you want to do? You want to test a concept, right? And always laws also, I think, protect you up to a certain amount of revenue. You don't even need to do anything about it. On your personal itself, right? Go ahead and start your work. What do you need to do? You need to build a product. For that, you need developers. Let's say you don't want to learn yourself. You value your time. You want to hire developers. Don't hire. Get a tech guy to come work with you. Sell him the vision. The initial days of a company, everything the company is the company itself or the vision itself. And that's why, founders are the best salespersons in an organization, or they have to be, because initial days you have to convince someone to come and work with you. I'm telling you, right, if you were not getting paid and if I didn't have co-creates funding, I would have convinced you. I would have sold the vision to you to come in for exchange for equity, in exchange for whatever I could. As a founder at that time, only thing I have is my vision and my potential company. I would sell that out. I would give out parts of my company. Obviously, I'm not saying it's the best in terms of upside, but I'm saying without capital as well. There's a definite way to do it. I'd go and talk to engineers. I would sell them on something else. I'll sell them on the vision, either through equity, or I'll say that, hey, once we become big, we'll give you a full-time job here. Or hey, you can get to lead some people here. In college, we did this a lot of times, right? One of my initial projects, I got a bunch of people involved purely on the thing that, hey, if this goes somewhere, we'll all be co-founders there. Or once it goes somewhere, you'll all have jobs here. So it's about selling how much confidence you have in the product yourself and convincing others. Because see, the job is to convince here. I need to convince investors, I need to convince shareholders, partners, affiliates, customers, employees. All these guys have to be convinced. So if you are good enough at convincing, you can get this done. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it will work for all situations, but in most situations, most business models, at least to get started, you can do this. Only once you've validated it, that's when the problem starts for you. Let's say you're suddenly generating 10 lakhs of revenue. Now you have enough revenue already to go ahead and register, file for GST, go ahead and do all the technical stuff that need to be done, right? All the paperwork that needs to be done. So you don't actually need to spend money to a massive level until you make it. And I think you can be creative enough. This is something I've learned. I've seen a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a few of the smartest people I know today. They're amazing deal makers in terms of they'll find a way not to cost them money. Because, okay, see, money is what? Money is a barter. You're basically exchanging something for something. Now, you need to understand what you have to exchange. What is my asset? As a company, my asset as a consumer would be that my own company, my own equity, my future cash flows, my future customers, my product, my insights. These are my stuff. You go ahead and look at what you have to barter, right? Those are the chips on the table. Now, you make deals with people. Let's say marketing, you want to do marketing. One easy way is you go find all the credits that are online. You get free credits, you get 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees on LinkedIn free to market. You might get 20,000 here and there to market. That's easy. That's enough for you to get started and validate your concept. Or you go ahead and do, let's say, partnership marketing. You go to communities, you talk to the head of the community, you find a way to angle yourself, right? You find a way because you know what you have as an asset, you know what they can provide you. You angle it or you create a deal in such a way that he sees the value, you see the value. instead of paying him to be a sponsor of his. So, for example, if I had to work with your podcast, instead of paying you money to become a podcast sponsor, I'll say that I'll give you 10% of every sale that happens of Consumer. And then it validates you also. You make revenue. At the same time, I only pay you when I make revenue. Right? So, I think if you're creative enough, you can break these things. It's not easy. It's painful. But even what I want to make clear is investment is not a base requirement to go ahead with life here. There are some business models which investment is a base requirement. For example, I see an opportunity in football in India. I think this is the time today to create a football club in India and do crazy amount of spends on marketing, because the hype has never been this high before. But to do this fundamentally, there's no way to for me to start it right now without cash. So the way I would approach this, I would validate it, right? I'll look at data, I'll go around, look at engagement, prove it to everyone that today's Indian football is at its peak. It's like where IPL was in 2006, 2008, whenever initial days of IPL, we are there with ISL today. I can prove this with some sort of social media numbers. And then I'd go to people with money and present my case to them. Right? Investors, it's nothing. You're not begging for money. To investors, you're providing them an opportunity to get value. You're providing them a vision, and they want to be a part of it.
Also, they make money in return, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like they're doing you a favor.
No. So, like football, like what I was saying, any business concept that requires money, the way I would do it is I would go to someone with money and make it clear to him why this opportunity exists and why I'm the right person to go ahead and take it forward. And he or she, if they're smart enough, they're putting in money there.
Normally I wouldn't have asked you this question of investment if my recent past
Correct.
got influenced with those aspects. Like I've seen people around me and think that way, like I've seen that literally. Like if those experiences happened in my life in the recent past, I wouldn't have asked you this question. Also, it gives me immense happiness to just talk to you, and I can go on and on and on, and I can talk to you for hours. Like literally, like I've never felt this enthusiastic even after it's been like 1 hour or so of recording. Like I've never felt this enthusiastic because of the nuggets that you're giving, right? In terms of that, I don't think that a lot of people with your age can give. Like it comes down with the knowledge that you're taking in terms of reading books, or like the content that you're consuming, or the amount of actual experience on working on the product, right? Like it looks to me that you have both, and the things that you're saying makes so much sense. Like even though I asked the question of level 4, you started from level 1. Like that's how much of a clarity you have. And all the people who are listening, if they want to check Consumer out, what are the pointers that you would give, like how they can use their platform to their advantage?
So let's go ahead and do one thing, right? I'll do this right after. I'll work with my team and get you a link.
Okay.
Special link for all the listeners of the podcast. I think because a lot of them are business people are want to start up. Let's make a plan where startup founders can use the platform for more or less free.
Okay.
Right, go ahead for the first month or so, play around with it. Essentially, any business concept you have, right? Okay, what do you start with as a business, as a startup founder? You're trying to validate a problem. So go ahead and search. Go to a sector. Be like, okay, in crypto, what problems do people face in crypto? Go ahead and ask these questions, right? I'll probably also work with you to give them some sort of top 5 questions which I like asking. Go ahead, go choose a category, whichever category you're in. Do all your market research using Consumer, right? Go and spend some time. This should give you a lot of ideas on what problems people are facing, what problems are products having, and what you need to do to capitalize on it, right? It will give you a good idea of what to build. And once you're done and more mature with that stage, you can figure out how to sell it as well. You can do some sort of marketing with it. And I think the right audience here, since you guys are hustlers, since you guys are, in this phase, and I like what you're doing with the Sankarshan Joshi trip, I think let's give them access to the platform. Right? I'm intrigued. The only thing I want from everyone here is to do justice to it, right? Go ahead and use these insights, use this market research to actually chase what you're doing. Probably share it with me, share it with you, so that we also have a good feel of, what people are being able to get to. Because I think there are a lot of smart people in the world. It's just about direction.
Yeah.
So I think we'll give them a link. We'll give them a referral link.
Sure, man. That would be great. I really appreciate you doing that, because it would make me so happy for people to see progress with their life, man. Like it gives me genuine happiness. Like just talking to you, when I saw you after so long, I just saw you Like you became lean, and then even with there is some good changes that I saw in terms of business and with the overall approach that you had about yourself. I was like, I felt so happy, and I'm glad that you're doing this, because all the people can connect with you on Instagram, LinkedIn. Like, where do you want them to connect with you in case if they want
I
to?
think LinkedIn works. LinkedIn is
Okay.
nice, professional, which we can do. I'll share again contact details.
That would be great. And thank you so much, Abhilash. It's always pleasure to talk to you, and I hope that we do more of this. And because I don't think this one episode does justice to all the things that you have to offer. So I want to do more of this. But thank you so much, man, for doing this.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me here. And I know you spoke a lot about my growth, but I also want to acknowledge your growth as well. Because guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but 2 years back, this is what Sankarshan told me. Sankarshan said, hey, I want to do this. I don't know if I can make money off of it. I don't know where it'll go. But this is my passion. I want to talk to certain people. And he never once got wavered by clout, right? He never thought that, hey, if I do something more flimsy, which is away from his original vision, he would have made a lot more cash or in terms of getting viewership, all of that. But he stayed true to his core concepts. And I'm telling you, right, the game here is being patient. He's stuck to this for 2 years and he's creating quality content that I'm sure people, the core audience of yours loves hearing, because you really strike a chord with them. And we've gone from, doing this over a Zoom call into a proper, one of the top studios in Bangalore, which itself is a big testament to you. And you got a sponsor, you got, different positive aspects, which I think growth is good, right? Like you said, it's very happy to see a good friend do well as well. So thanks a lot, and all the best.
Thank you so much. One thing I'd like to end this podcast on is that one thing that has helped me a lot is that associating with the right people. I think I'm very lucky that I met you, because that had a very positive impact on me, and all the people who have had positive impact on me helped me create a very healthy mindset. So yeah, thank you so much, man. Hope to have you back again.
Awesome. Done. We will schedule one more soon.
Yes.
A Sankarshan Joshi trip.